This is the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast. Here's Rick Ucchino and SP3 on the Bleav Podcast Network.
Well, SP3 for the first time in a long time. Randy Orton and Seth Rollins went one-on-one on Monday Night Raw in the main event. Of course, we got some shenanigans, but I think the right guy went over here. You know, he's heading into Elimination Chamber, needed the win. Randy didn't need it. Randy's bulletproof at this point. What'd you think?
Yeah, they worked very well with each other. It was a good main event. Really good last 90 minutes of the show with just really good in-ring quality as we head into Elimination Chamber on Saturday. So I was actually pleased coming out of a Monday Night Raw. Yes, for once, they actually pleased me with the last 90 minutes, aside from, one segment, which we'll get into.
We will get into, because I think I'm about to join you on the dark side of things. We had a great main event, as you said. I think, look, the storylines aren't always there, right? But the wrestling on Monday Night Raw the last month solid has just been spectacular. Everybody in that Raw locker room has got to be watching the matches that they're putting on AEW every freaking weekend going, okay, we got 3 hours. We should be doing that shit. And they have been coming correct. Well, except for Veer, they have been coming correct every Monday night. So you got to appreciate the efforts that are being put in by the talent inside the ring. Again, creative isn't always there. And that's where we come in, and we spend a majority of our time breaking things down. We will talk about Randy Orton's tag team partner, Matt Riddle, because this dude just gets more over and over and over every single week, just massive pops. And we always talk about how baby faces aren't booked right. Well, this might be one of those rare cases where WWE has it right. We will talk about him. Rhea Ripley had an incredibly strong showing, almost like they are heating her up for something. We will talk about that. Alexa Bliss is going to make her in-ring return at Elimination Chamber. We will break down the entire saga. And Johnny Knoxville might have a title match at WrestleMania. Okay. All right. Okay, cool. That's fine. First things first, let's take care of a little business. Football season might be over, unfortunately. But basketball is in full steam for both pro and college hoops. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next coach fired is going to land, BetOnline is the #1 spot for all your betting needs. Head on over to the website. Use your mobile devices and sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code Bleav to get started. That is BLEAV. It's not just basketball. BetOnline is your source for hockey, boxing, UFC odds, right down to the Olympic coverage. It is the best in the business. From sports right down to your favorite Vegas casino games, BetOnline, your #1 online wagering destination, the fastest and easiest way to wager on all of your favorite sports and play your favorite games. BetOnline, where the game starts. And we're not going to start with any of what I talked about and teased already, because we have potentially stunning news. Dare I say potentially stone cold stunning news. Sean Ross Sapp, the Adrian Wojciechowski of wrestling media, along with John Alba, by the way, who does not report anymore. But anytime that man starts dropping the bug eye emojis on Twitter, I start paying attention. And then Sean starts tweeting out his ominous tweets, and then WrestleVotes gets involved, and I start hitting people up. I'm like, what in the flying hell is going on? What could be so damn big? And this was like right after like the Becky Lynch segment with Lita, right? Yeah. And given the landscape of WWE over the last 2 years, I'm sitting here going, the hell happened at the end of the Becky Lynch segment? Like, I'm always like locked in for like the worst breaking news. This is the complete opposite, especially if you are somebody in our age range, right, who grew up in the Attitude Era. Our inner 15, 16, 17-year-olds right now are jumping up and down on our mom's couches, right? Because Sean Ross Sapp is reporting that WWE is trying to, what was the word he used?
Made an overture.
Yes. brazen overtures, trying to pull in Stone Cold Steve Austin, not just for an appearance at WrestleMania 38 in his home state of Texas. They want this man to come out of retirement and wrestle a match at WrestleMania 38. And the plot thickens. Brian Alvarez then tweeted shortly after that, yes, it has been discussed internally that Stone Cold Steve Austin could be facing Kevin Owens at WrestleMania 38. And all of a sudden, the picture becomes clear, right, SP3? Because Kevin Owens, it looked like he started a title program with Damian Priest, and then all of a sudden that was dropped out of nowhere, right? And then they start talking about him possibly not being on the card at WrestleMania, and we're like, okay, where the hell is this going? And then tonight he cuts a promo on the state of Texas, just crapping all over the city of Dallas, like, that's fine, I don't need to be there, screw Texas, this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, they're doing this for a reason, and it didn't click, because nowhere in the depths of my fantasy booking mind would I think that 57-year-old Stone Cold Steve Austin would even consider coming out of retirement for some kind of a match at WrestleMania. But it was still like there, like buried deep in my subconscious, right? Because the second this report came out from Sean Ross Sapp, it's like my brain went, I freaking knew it. But I didn't have the wherewithal at the time to put all the pieces together. SP3, when this dropped and you read this report, what was your initial reaction?
What?
What? 57-year-old Stone Cold Steve Austin coming out of retirement, potentially, hypothetically, possibly.
It was very, very surprising, but when this news drops, whenever Sean drops something, there is always fire where there's smoke. There is always that going on. And WWE, you have to put the breadcrumbs together. AEW, it was, we have this huge announcement. And then he dropped the news of CM Punk's return. And then the announcement was they were going to the United Center, which 1 and 2, you got to put it together.
Yep.
This news drops on the night that Kevin Owens drops a anti-Texas promo, which immediately after he cuts the promo saying he doesn't care about being at WrestleMania, he cuts it, crapping on Texas and everything. You immediately think, who from Texas is versing Kevin Owens at WrestleMania? So you automatically look at the whole roster, and no one that is like big enough to get this type of attention for them to have a focused WrestleMania matchup on is from Texas on the current roster. So when this news drops and it's Stone Cold Steve Austin, my initial thought is, this is the replacement for the Shane McMahon match. Maybe he's versus Seth Rollins. But then when you put it together with the breadcrumb of a guy who has been a huge fan of Stone Cold Steve Austin. We've seen the photos of him before he became a professional wrestler. His finishing move is the Stone Cold Stunner, and now he's cutting promos on Texas. It just makes all the sense in the world that it's Stone Cold Steve Austin. This is automatically going to be one of the biggest matches on this card if it does go down. And I would argue that it is bigger than probably Roman and Brock or Ronda and Charlotte, because this is a dream match. This is a dream match, and it's Stone Cold Steve Austin returning to the ring, something that people never thought would happen. Like double the amount of WrestleManias ago, half the amount of WrestleManias ago. WrestleMania 19 was supposed to be his final match, and now 19 years later in his home state of Texas, he's going to return to the ring. This is huge for WWE. Yes, once again, the devil's advocate side of this is, yes, once again, this is WWE relying on nostalgia. But
I was going to say, that was my next question. Is this actually like a good idea, or is this just when in doubt, trot him out, right? Because it's like, that's exactly what this appears to be.
What they do best. They don't come up with creative storylines. They don't come up with builds and pushes for new superstars to be established in that main event scene, so you don't have to trot out this nostalgia act, that you can have two established stars go at it at WrestleMania that you have kept apart for a large amount of time, because they have so much television, 5 hours of television on the main roster. They run through so many matchups. How cool would it have been to see, like I said last week, how cool would it have been to see RK Bro versus Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins?
Yeah.
How cool would it have been to do Big E versus Seth Rollins when it seemed like they were trying to protect that match to make that the WWE title match for WrestleMania? They just did it on a Monday Night Raw. Tonight they did Seth Rollins and Randy Orton. That could be a WrestleMania match, even though they've done it at WrestleMania before. Hey, they also did the main event. They're doing the main event of that same WrestleMania this year, so they could have done it again this year as well. So yes, they have ran through all the matchups with the current roster where they have to bring in these nostalgia acts to give WrestleMania card something. And if you want to sell out 100,000 seats on back-to-back nights, you need something like Stone Cold Steve Austin's return. That is how you're at least going to get one night that sells out, and that's probably the night that Austin is there. And I would put that on night 2, because night 2 is going to be a lot harder to sell than night 1, ladies and gentlemen. So if WWE is smart, you put that on night 2. But this is great for WWE. It is them going back to their old reliable of the Vince panic button, always press nostalgia, no other button. All the other buttons, there's other buttons on the panel, but they're all really the same button. It's all nostalgia. It's all just different levels of nostalgia. They was about to give us a level 5 nostalgia, or really like a level 2 or 3 in Shane McMahon, and now we got up to a level 10 nostalgia.
No. This is cranking that shit up to 11.
No. This is cranking this up to 316. So this is what this is great. This is a huge upgrade for what we're gonna get, and it juices up the WrestleMania card overall.
If I could guarantee, if WWE could guarantee at all that Stone Cold could go for 8 to 10 minutes, I'd say this would be a night 1 main event match, to be completely honest with you, because it is that big of a marquee matchup, and the history is there. It's stunner versus stunner. It's sexy. It has everything that WWE loves in a main event. And, you kind of don't want to hide Stone Cold's return in the middle of the card. I mean, if it was like WrestleMania 35, where you got 16 matches and you're all in one night, yeah, I'd say put it on as soon as possible while the crowd's hot. I might even jerk the curtain with that one, to be completely honest with you. That's how you maybe they do. Maybe this is a night 1 opener where literally
I think it's a night 2 opener, actually.
But either way, night 1, night
huge
2,
upgrade for what we got night 2 last year with Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton.
Don't freaking remind me. Anywho, so you just start off, you do the big glamorous like WrestleMania extravaganza, and the pyros going off at Big D and everything, and then you just wait 10, 15, 20 seconds. Don't make any announcements. Just let the crowd die down a little bit, and then glass shatters, 100,000 people, standing room only in Jerry World, just freaking erupt. And I guarantee you the hair on everybody's arms inside that stadium would just immediately stand up. The electricity would be there. So maybe that might be the best way to go about doing it. But the thing is, it's like, he's 57. He hasn't wrestled in 20 years.
Yeah.
This is going to be a glorified Goldberg match, is what I'm afraid it's going to be.
Ladies and gentlemen, some people drink, other people get a high potent amount of weed, because Rick is smoking some good stuff if he thinks Stone Cold Steve Austin gonna do 8 to 11 minutes.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't say that. I said if I could guarantee he would, that would be a main event caliber.
I wouldn't even be thinking about that. This is the type of matchup that Kevin Owens can just keep running his mouth. People are just going to want to see him get his butt kicked. This is just going to be your walk-in brawl type of guy. This is going to be Austin beating him up around ringside. Kevin Owens can get some heat on him in the ring, and then Austin finishes with a stunner. I want 5 to 6 minutes. I think that is asking for a lot, but I think that is the max that we should be looking for. And it's fine. I think that if it's anywhere from the first match on the card to the middle of the show. I think the main events are the main events. Night 2 is going to be Roman and Brock. Night 1 is going to be Ronda and Charlotte. I think the best spot for them is the night 2 opener, but I don't expect Austin to do too much. This is a nostalgia hit to just see him in the ring, see him hit the greatest hits. This is not something like this is not going to be the savior for WWE, like being revived here. This is just something to make fans buy tickets to WrestleMania. 100,000 seats on back-to-back nights.
Oh yeah,
they need stuff like this.
They want to be able to just plaster Stone Cold's face on the side of Jerry World. What is it, AT&T Stadium? They just want to be able to plaster his face next to Kevin Owens on that gigantic ass screen and put it everywhere. And yeah, say, hey, Stone Cold Steve Austin's wrestling tonight for the first time in 20 years. When we know exactly what it's going to be. He's going to take a couple of boots. Maybe he does, the jump on him and do the punches, but it's going to be a stunner. It's going to be a pinfall. It's going to be him chugging beers. Maybe he cuts a promo, which is almost like, do you even really need to do a match? Maybe you could do some kind of a physical segment like that, but a match will sell tickets.
Yeah.
Even though we all know what we're going to get. But at the same point, Stone Cold Steve Austin, if you've watched Broken Skull Sessions, it looks like he's still jacked, man. He's still in pretty good shape. So, but being in shape and being in ring shape, two completely different things.
Hey, High Spots sent him a ring, and he put it up on his Twitter last summer. So he's had pretty much almost a good like 9-10 months to be working in that ring to get himself ready. And I don't think WWE would have had Kevin Owens cut this promo, because I like racked my brain of the current roster who they could have had against Kevin Owens. The only guy that would have been big enough that's from Texas to verse Kevin Owens that was on the current roster is now on AEW, and that's Keith Lee. Other than that, it was another Undertaker comeback, and I'd much rather have Austin come in for a couple of stunners and drink some beer than another Undertaker comeback.
You took the words right out of my mouth. That, I think, is the emergency. That's the emergency, right? If you don't have Stone Cold's name on the contract right now, you can go ahead and start the Texas angle and then just have Undertaker. You don't even have to do a match, right? You can just have Taker come down, give him a choke slam, give him a tombstone, do the entrance, the gong, the whole 9 yards. You can do the same nostalgia act that won't hit nearly as hard because we've seen it so many times over the last 10 years. But that's the backup, right? Like that's the backup plan if you can't get Austin's name on the dotted line.
So if they don't get Austin to do an in-ring return, they just run the WrestleMania 32 angle of the legends coming out to beat up the heel, but this time it's one heel, and he gets the Holy Trinity of Texas: The Undertaker, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Shawn Michaels.
Ooh. I mean, those guys can go out there, do a super kick, do a choke slam, and do a stunner and call it a day. Exactly. And you know what? The crowd would absolutely love it.
Up. Yep.
But real quick, one last comment. You know how I know business is good with WWE? I know business is good because, one, they ran a Super Bowl ad for WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. Those ain't cheap. And Stone Cold Steve Austin might be coming out of retirement to wrestle again, which is something that he has been adamantly against for the last 20 years. Even told Becky Lynch on the last Broken Skull Sessions, could have been kayfabing us, but even said, look, I ain't got no interest in it.
He's banking $1 to $2 million at the very least for this one match.
And that's the thing, right? Like we all said Shawn Michaels is never coming back. And that Saudi Arabia money came in, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't think any less of Stone Cold Steve Austin for coming back on this. Like you're going to say, like you said, $1 to $2, maybe $3 million for 5 minutes work. He'd be an idiot not to do that.
The only people that's going to be upset is the people that wanted him to come back in like 2012, 2013 to verse CM Punk. Like there's going to be people that were angry, like say, oh, why you couldn't come back then? You were like 10 years younger. Other than that, this is a win-win for Austin. He's gonna make those fans in Texas happy. He's gonna bank a huge check for this one matchup for about 5 minutes of work. So I think that this is a smart move on WWE's part and Stone Cold's part if this does go down.
And it offers Vince McMahon a very important thing, and that is peace of mind that WrestleMania tickets will start selling like hotcakes. Because what is more important than peace of mind? Absolutely nothing. And that is what NordVPN is here for, to give you peace of mind while you are online. And with all the threats that you face today on the internet, it is more important than ever to be sure that you have the best VPN you can get. NordVPN is the world's best VPN service, offering the fastest connectivity, most servers, and next-gen encryption to make sure that everything you do online stays secure. Plus, you can use NordVPN on all your computers and devices, no matter the operating system. With NordVPN's unlimited bandwidth, you never have to worry about a slow connection either, and plans start at under $4 per month. So grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/Bleav or use the code BLEAV to get up to 70% off your NordVPN plan, plus one additional month free. It's also risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Got to take care of a little business here. Don't know if you guys saw, but did have an exclusive interview drop yesterday morning with Santos Escobar. He's got a big matchup coming up tonight, NXT Vengeance Day, against Braun Breaker for that NXT Championship. So you're already on the Bleav in Pro Wrestling YouTube channel. So I need you to do two things. One, check out that interview with Santos Escobar after this program is done. And then two, make sure you go up there and you hit the subscribe button. All right. Hit the subscribe button. And by the way, go check out my Twitter page at Rick Ucchino. Look at my pinned tweet and follow the instructions. You will have already done step one if you hit the subscribe button to the Bleav in Pro Wrestling YouTube channel. And you will have a chance at $50 guaranteed and up to $100 to shop AEW. So again, hit subscribe, go to my Twitter page, check out the pinned tweet, follow the instructions, get yourself registered. We're giving away free cash money. You have between now and Revolution to do this. That's March 6th. So let's get it done, people.
It's time to answer the 5 count on the Bleav Podcast Network.
Never thought in a million years, SP3, I would hear a sold-out crowd in Indianapolis chanting, Broga, Broga, Broga. But that's exactly what we got last night. It seems like everything Matt Riddle does just hits. And this is something I said at the top of the show. You know, we talk all the time about WWE not building stars. They don't know how to book baby faces properly. They never just let them be themselves and flourish with the audience and make that connection, right? They always want to kind of take a round peg and shove it in a square hole, right? That's what WWE tries to do with a lot of their superstars. But every once in a while, they let somebody flourish. And they have done that, to their credit, with Matt Riddle. Say what you want about the guy, but WWE audiences love him. They love everything that he does. And I'm sitting here and I'm looking across the landscape of WWE right now, and I'm going, damn, is he already a top 3 baby face in the company? And we'll start right there with number 1 here on the 5 count. What do you say? Is Riddle already in that top 3 as far as most over baby faces in WWE are concerned?
No, he's not. I'm sorry. He's just not, because WWE doesn't protect him like one. That's the only reason I think that he gets the response. He's one of the more popular.
That's more what I'm focusing here on. That's more what I'm focusing, like, as far as over with the fan base.
Over with, well, this is kind of 2 different questions, but even over with the fan base, Brock Lesnar is more over. This is not, you didn't say male baby faces. Ronda Rousey gets a bigger pop than him.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put that in the question as far as the male roster is concerned, because
okay.
there would be a lot of women that would be ahead of him.
Yeah.
But I'm talking strictly male roster on this one. That's my
strictly male roster. Then it's just, he would be in probably he would be like number 4, because Randy Orton is more. Randy Orton gets a louder pop than him, and a lot of his the response and why his growing popularity and the growing pop that he gets and the response is from his relationship with Randy Orton. So I think that Randy Orton is more over than him. I also have to say Drew McIntyre is also more over with him, and that's also due to how WWE protects him now that he's on SmackDown. When he was on Raw and he was getting consistently in the WWE title scene, he was slowly, that pop was getting lower. But now that he's back on SmackDown, his response at the Royal Rumble, his responses on SmackDown every week have been one of the loudest for any babyface there. And his position, he doesn't have anyone above him. Like Raw right now, you got Brock Lesnar above Riddle, you got Randy Orton above Riddle. I wouldn't say anyone else. I kind of would say that Seth Rollins gets a bigger response than Riddle as well, but he's not technically a
babyface yet.
A babyface yet. Yeah, exactly. But he gets a louder response than Riddle as well. So that's like 2 to 3 guys that I could say, not just babyfaces, but just get a louder response than Riddle on his brand. I think if Riddle was separated from Randy Orton and went on SmackDown, then yeah, he would definitely already be a top 3 babyface. I think we're on the way to him becoming a top 3 babyface. And I think that after WrestleMania, he will be a top 3 babyface, but already not yet.
I think if I was going to rank them, Brock, number 1, right? Everything that he's doing is fantastic tonight. Him kicking the crap out of Austin Theory to open things up, throwing his coat on him and putting the hat on him and everything, and just showing total disrespect to Austin Theory, then kicking his butt and taking a selfie with him. Brock is living his best life. If you didn't see the interview that he did with Pat McAfee, watch it. All right. Maybe watch it after my interview with Santos Escobar, because it's not going to quite live up. All right. But that's Pat and the boys and Brock. He did a Stone Cold impersonation. He broke a table. All right. I think he sang a little bit in that interview. Brock showing off his personality has been the best thing for WWE.
It has
in quite some time. It is incredible that we didn't get this until now. Like it really, really is. So yeah, he is the top babyface in all of WWE, and I can't believe I'm saying that. Number 2, I would say Edge. Edge still gets the second biggest pop of anybody not named John Cena when John Cena comes back. I'm going just for the guys who are on the active roster right now. And then I think I got to agree with you. I just put Randy Orton ahead of Riddle, but Riddle's right there, man. He's just right behind him. And I think WWE deserves some credit with that for just kind of letting Riddle flourish. I mean, this was a guy that people, including myself, couldn't really stand at first, but every single week he's winning more people over every single Monday Night Raw. The guy's hilarious. He can go in the ring. I would be stunned if this guy never wins a WWE or Universal Championship. And I think it may come this year, to be completely honest with you, if they keep him on his current trajectory. And I say keep him and Randy Orton together as long as humanly possible.
Yeah, if they're not doing title versus title, I think the move to do would have Bobby Lashley or Seth Rollins win the Elimination Chamber and just do a 3-way with RK Bro. That way you could keep them together. You can keep teasing them. Like, I think that they should have their blow off match probably at SummerSlam. They should be through WrestleMania still as a unit, because I think that's going to be best for Riddle's future and for the overall story as well. I think if they did it like now in the next couple of weeks, it would feel kind of rushed, the whole turn and everything for RK Bro, when it really seems like they have been more united than ever the last couple of weeks.
And I would love the kind of full circle moment. Like Riddle wins the WWE Championship or the Universal title or whichever one. And then we get that Triple H Randy Orton moment, but it's Randy Orton and Riddle in this case, where Triple H is all happy, and then he's like, all right, big man, dump him. And this time we get Orton and Riddle, and they do the big hug, and Orton's raising his hand and everything, and then he gives him the RKO. I think there's some poetry there, and that's a story you can kind of do a callback on, and I think that would be a perfect spot for Orton to do that. Again, we talked about the wrestling was just spectacular on Monday Night Raw. They gave the ladies, 5 of them that are in the Elimination Chamber, 44 minutes, and Rhea Ripley looked absolutely incredible from bell to bell. She went all the way to the end. Did end up losing to Bianca Belair, but that's nothing wrong with that, especially when Bianca comes out last and Rhea started the match and she beat Nikki A.S.H., who looked really good, Liv Morgan, who looked good as well, and Doudrop. I mean, look, all 5 of these competitors went out there and did great work on Monday Night Raw. But man, I'm looking at that and I'm going, damn, they just did more for Rhea Ripley as far as her status on the Raw roster in one night than they've done in the last 6 months. They seem to be heating her up for something. What that is, I don't know, but all of a sudden, maybe, just maybe, she's the one that walks out the winner at Elimination Chamber on Saturday. So number 2, are you buying or selling that Rhea Ripley has a legit chance to win Elimination Chamber this coming Saturday in Saudi Arabia?
Oh, I'm selling that, but I'm saying I'm buying the fact that she has a better chance than she did before Monday Night Raw,
Yeah.
because I think the whole goal of this gauntlet match wasn't for Bianca Belair to win the last entry into the Elimination Chamber match. That was to create another option for fans to think can win, because it was just Bianca Belair or whoever's going to be the sixth entrant coming into this episode and after this episode, because Rhea Ripley went 44 minutes, had one of her more impressive performances since she's been on the main roster. I say that she is like a dark horse to kind of win this now. I think that, I think it's a toss up who you think is going to win between, who we know now as the sixth entry, Alexa Bliss, or Bianca Belair. But right behind them, it's got to be Rhea Ripley as kind of the dark horse who could pull this out. I wouldn't say that this was like a Kofi Kingston in his gauntlet type performance, but this was a great performance. She showed different type of matches in this,
Yes.
where she was versing, Doudrop, and she was fighting from underneath because Doudrop had the size advantage and she was well rested against, someone who just went through 2 different matchups. She went against Liv Morgan. That was more of like the speedy babyface versus the overpowering babyface. And then her and Nikki A.S.H. That was solid. I think they kind of had like a mistiming at the end there. But other than that, they worked well with each other, where it was more of a natural babyface versus heel matchup. And then Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley, man, like between the ending of last year's Women's Royal Rumble and this match here, it made me want to see them on a premium live event, one-on-one on a big stage. That's the type of matchup that I think if they got their own one-on-one matchup, they would deliver and steal the show.
Yeah, I saw a post on Twitter earlier today. It was a screen capture of a report, and it didn't say where the report came from, and I couldn't find it anywhere, but there was a mention of about possibly Rhea Ripley being added to the Raw Women's Championship match, and there possibly being a triple threat in the works. Again, I don't know who said that. I couldn't find it anywhere. I don't know if there's any kind of validity whatsoever to that. I don't like that, because then what's the point of doing the Elimination Chamber if you're just going to end up with a triple threat anyway?
Exactly.
But I have to agree with you. I'm going to sell that she has a legit chance, especially with the addition of Alexa Bliss. Right up until we got the big conclusion tonight of the Alexa Bliss return saga, I was going to buy this. I was like, man, they might be heating her up for Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley, which again, that's one of those minor little things. And I'm just like, I honestly wouldn't hate it, because I just want to watch the Bianca Belair fan reaction on Twitter, because that would be worth it to me to just watch the internet burn down. And I sympathize with Bianca fans, right? I've been there. I have been there before. Bianca's arc is honestly a lot like Becky Lynch's back in 2018, except Bianca hasn't been put in catering after her women's championship match. At least she's on TV every week. So I've been there. I can sympathize with you. But people used to rag on us Becky Lynch fans all the time and make fun of us for going nuts on Twitter. So I kind of want to be on the other end of that just one time in my life. But man, I was just really happy to see Rhea get this performance, because it was almost like WWE remembered what they have in her.
Yeah.
Which is a legit effing star and somebody who should constantly be talked about as a main eventer, which it's kind of sad that she's not. I mean, she dropped that belt really quickly after WrestleMania. Like, she didn't even make it to SummerSlam. At least Bianca got to SummerSlam with the belt. Rhea got what? Money in the Bank, and that was it?
Yep.
So 2 months? She basically had 2 months with the Raw Women's Championship, and it still, by the way, has never gotten over on Charlotte. Still has not.
Nope. That long-term booking everybody was talking about, with they definitely gonna pay it. Nope.
Oh, it's gonna be long term. Eventually, eventually Rhea will get a win over Charlotte on like a random SmackDown 3 years from now, and WWE will go, see, we finally paid it off.
We did it.
We did it, everybody.
We did it, ladies and gentlemen.
To me, this is still a slam dunk. Bianca Belair is winning this on Saturday. I would be surprised if they went any other direction. But man, bringing Alexa Bliss back just to have her take this L at Elimination Chamber, it's got me at now 65-35, right? I'm 65% sure Bianca's there. And then there's like 35% of me that's thinking maybe they give this to Alexa, who went through weeks and weeks and weeks, sometimes twice a night therapy sessions.
Yeah.
And I defended these.
Yes,
I defended these because I really enjoyed Alexa's acting in these, right?
And every time you say that, you literally pause, do the longest pause ever before you say what you. I really like that's how you say it, and that makes me feel like you are trying to like this more than you actually genuinely like.
I want to give credit where it's due. Alexa's performance the entire time was fantastic, and I'm sitting here going, please get to the point because it's getting really hard to defend this. And you're sitting here saying it's not funny, it's not entertaining, it's not this, that, and the other thing. And I would argue with that, saying, look, I've watched plenty of dramas where I have been invested in it, and it's not quote unquote funny or entertaining or this, that, and the other thing, right? There is a whole section for what they were going for here. But the ending of this, to me, what was the point? What are we doing? What happened? You brought Alexa Bliss in there, right? At the start of these therapy sessions to cure her, to get her to believe the fact that Lilly is not real. She's a figment of her imagination, and get her back to being a normal functioning person.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, the conclusion is, hey, you're cured. You're a normal functioning human being. Oh, hey, here's Lilly back. And just keep Lilly with you at all times, and you're going to be a normal functioning human being.
Yep.
What? What? What is this? So are we getting hybrid Alexa Bliss? Are we going to get the Damian Priest of Alexa Blisses, where she's like this split personality character where occasionally she'll show up normal and occasionally if you piss her off, the Lilly side of her is going to come out? If you weren't going to take her back to some form of full-time normalcy, what was the point? I know the Lilly dolls are selling like hotcakes. Either keep her the way she was or alter SB3. The story didn't make any sense at all. The ending there was no payoff to this whatsoever. None. They completely wasted our time with this. And I hate to say that because I'm a fan of Alexa Bliss. And I know you're about to go off on this and call me stupid, but like I had hopes for this when it first started. And every week it got harder and harder to defend because I'm like, get to the damn point, get to the finish. What's the payoff here? Which direction are we going? And at the end of all this, I don't know what the hell direction that they're going. Again, not a knock on Alexa Bliss. Love her to death. Love her work. Love this character work. Love this character. Always have, always will. It's WWE creative, man.
Yep. I mean, this didn't make sense. This wasn't good. This wasn't entertaining from the very beginning, ladies and gentlemen. Do not let Rick Ucchino's passion and the way he eloquently
you people feel free to feel however you feel about something.
Oh yeah, you can feel however you feel about what you feel, but the vast majority of us seem to not have enjoyed a lot of this. And me personally, all I can speak of is how I felt. And I've been telling y'all for weeks, this was a waste of time. I don't know what they doing. This is boring. There's no point to this. And I ask casual fans, people that just randomly will watch a Monday Night Raw, and they say this is like the worst part of the show because there's no like, what can you say? Okay, Alexa Bliss doing well with this. She's doing her job well. Great. It's still crap. You can do crap very well. I've seen it. I watch a lot of television, and a lot of it is crap. But people can perform that crap very well. Keeping Up with the Kardashians is mostly a crappy reality show. That was on for 20 seasons. Because people want to see crap sometimes. And I guess that's the people that enjoyed this Alexa Bliss saga. I knew from the very beginning that there was not going to be any point, and all the finale did was prove to me that there was no point. The whole point they told us from the beginning is we're going to cure Alexa Bliss so she doesn't need Lilly anymore, and it ends with her getting Lilly and being told that she will never be normal without Lilly. That is the biggest waste of time. We wasted 2 months of television on these segments that offered zero quality, which outside of Rick Ucchino, all the people that I watch on YouTube or watch on analysts or talk about wrestling, no one seemed to be saying anything good about this. I don't see any of y'all coming in our comments telling it. Please tell me if you really like this Alexa Bliss saga. Please let us know in the comment section below and tell us why you enjoyed it and what was the enjoyable parts, what was the memorable parts that you got from the Alexa Bliss saga that you will remember in a few months' time. You will never forget the moment where Alexa Bliss told her therapist that she was on the line at the supermarket and beat a lady with a piece of bread. Oh, great. Yes, I will never forget it. I'll be telling my kids when they're older about these Alexa Bliss sagas.
Why the hell couldn't they show us that? Do a flashback or some bullshit. Do like an actual action sequel. Like the only action we got in any of this was her breaking some stuff in like the first 1 or 2 episodes, and then it was just talking. And I'm like, all right, this is going to heat up eventually. This is going to heat up eventually. There's going to be a point to this. Is that I have faith. It was always faith with me. And again, the only good thing that I said was Alexa Bliss is killing it with this stuff. That is the only good thing that I said throughout this entire process.
Dude, like,
because I believed,
right,
which is the theme of the damn show,
I
that
know.
they had a plan and that they would take. This seems to me like they didn't film all this ahead of time. It was like, wait a minute, halfway through they realized, hey, we still got a lot of these Lilly dolls up at WWE shop and they are selling pretty well, but we still, are we sure we want to get rid of her because we're making money off of this? And then somebody changed their damn mind. That's what it seemed like. I refuse to believe that this was the end game from the get-go, where you're going to cure Alexa Bliss and tell her they don't need Lilly, and then they end up giving her Lilly back and saying, keep her with you at all times and you're going to be fine.
I guarantee you this was the end game because all the reports have said they would film this in like 1 or 2 days. So they filmed all this with this being the intended
There was some
end
reshoots.
game.
I don't care what anybody says. There were reshoots. This doesn't make any sense.
All I will tell you, Rick, is that is not quality entertainment. If you want to watch quality entertainment, watch our shows back. Watch Bleav in Pro Wrestling. Yo, you making me feel like I'm Corey Matthews and you Sean Hunter, and these Alexa Bliss sagas is the center. You join a cult where you believe all this nonsense that they tell you. And that's not a real hug. This is a real hug, Rick.
This to me feels like Die Hard, except it wasn't nearly as successful. Not even close to successful. You ever heard the story of Die Hard? They're literally writing the script as they're filming the movie, right? And they're got down to the point where they had to come up with how the guys were going to get away. They had no idea how Hans Gruber and the guys and the terrorists were going to, what their escape plan was, until it got to the point where they were going to shoot it, right? And then they brought the ambulance out of the truck that they had pulled in there. Except earlier on in the movie, they had that big shot coming out of the back of the truck where all the guys walked out of the truck and there was no ambulance there. They screwed it up, right? Because they were writing everything as it went along, and they ended up with an ending that didn't make any sense, but nobody gave a shit because the movie was still good. That's what I feel like happened here. But there wasn't, it wasn't good. Overall, the overall product was not good. And I refuse to believe that this was shot in 1 or 2 days. There had to be some reshoots because none of this made sense. It's not coherent. Nothing makes sense.
You would literally have to tell the story of how the director had 100 or so other movies that didn't have endings or stuff that didn't make sense to have a fair comparison to the WWE. Like, this is why I've been down on these segments from the very beginning, because you can believe whatever you want to believe, Rick. But I believe this was the ending they planned from the very beginning. And yes, it didn't make any sense only to one person, Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
Just
And
bad
that's
writing.
all that matters to them.
It's just bad writing is what it is. All right. But do you agree with me that she would probably be the second most likely person to win at
I think she's
Elimination?
first.
Really?
I don't think it would make any sense to have if it was a returning person as this final entrant. I think I would always think the returning person is going to win. Asuka, Bayley, Alexa Bliss, Lacey Evans. It didn't matter if it was one of these returning persons winning. I think they should win because how does it make sense for them to return and then lose? And 9 times out of 10, them losing is not going to set up a singles match for them at WrestleMania. So yeah, I mean, I think that Alexa Bliss is the odds-on favorite, and I think even when we go into Saturday, she's gonna be the betting odds favorite. I think it's very close. It's like
I was going to ask you to put a percentage on it.
if I had to put a percentage on it, I'm like 55-45 Alexa Bliss over Bianca.
So you're saying the Bianca stands should be nervous.
They should always be nervous. I've been telling them this. I've been telling them this since the optimistic Bianca fans came out after SummerSlam. I'll be like, I've been telling them ever since SummerSlam. This was not a good look, and this company you should not have faith or hope that they are going to pay this off and have Bianca win in the end.
All right, real quick, let's run down to the last two here. Tuned in to we brought up Sean Ross Sapp earlier, who had the big Stone Cold Steve Austin story that broke late last night. Tuned in to his Elimination Chamber preview show, which ours will be coming out Friday morning at 7 a.m. We will have a special guest this week. I will let you know as soon as that special guest has signed on the dotted line, because I still need Stone Cold to sign on the dotted line. That's the analogy I'm going to go with there.
And the name on the contract said McMahon, but it says Shane McMahon.
Yeah, exactly. So as soon as I can get somebody to say, yeah, I'll come on, I'll let you know who it is. But I'm listening to him and Jeremy Lambert talk about Becky Lynch and Lita. And they started talking about the length of the match and how they were afraid that it was going to go long, right? And I'm sitting there going, man, that's a good point. That is a really, really good point. And Sean brought this up, and I agree with him. He's like, look, I know Lita can do a moonsault. I know she can do the Lita Kanrana. I know she can do a twist of fate. Don't know what else she can do at this point, right? There's just a lot of mystery in the air because, again, this will be her first match against a female competitor, legit one-on-one matchup since 2006. That's a long-ass time ago at this point. That's almost as long as Stone Cold Steve Austin being outside of the ring. When we have seen her, it's been in tag matches where she hasn't had to carry the full load. It's been in Royal Rumbles. It's been in Battle Royals where she hasn't had to carry a full load. And let's be honest, you don't really have to do a whole lot in Battle Royals. It's just a lot of punching and kicking and maybe a high spot or a move or two, right? When the ring's been cleared out a little bit and it's safer to do those things. Now she's going one-on-one with Becky Lynch. And it's like, okay, how's this match going to shape out? Is this the kind of situation where less is more in this kind of a situation, even with it being a quote unquote dream matchup? So number 4, are you giving this matchup over or under 7.5 minutes at Elimination Chamber, Becky Lynch and Lita for the Raw Women's Championship?
These are great points made by you, made by the Fightful fellas as well. I think that this matchup will be in its best if it's between 7 and 8 minutes. So I will go with under, and I will go with 7 minutes. I think that they have a good story going in, and they had a really good go home segment with Becky Lynch's great character work, probably the best character work that she's had since like 2018, pretty much. Like she was just on the money, cut a great promo, and just was in that mode of just really desperate and disheveled with the fact that Lita, her hero, is challenging her right before WrestleMania. Yeah. It's a great story going into there. And I think that they can have a really good matchup if it's like 7 to 8 minutes. So that's why I'll go with under in 7 minutes.
Yeah. Becky Lynch came out on Raw walking into work like every Cincinnati Bengals fan walking into work on Monday, just disheveled, defeated, just beat up, no sleep whatsoever. She walked out. I'm like, oh, damn. Okay, that's what I looked like this morning. All right, just not nearly as fashionable and nowhere near as pretty. But yeah, that was an incredible turn for Becky Lynch for this story to take, where the fact that it's like, it wasn't that she was afraid of Lita in the get-go. It's like she did not want this match. Like Rebecca Quinn wants this match. Becky Lynch doesn't want this match because she doesn't want to kill her hero. And I think that's the story that's going to unfold on Saturday, which makes me think that this match is going to go over. It's not going to be so much about the moves. It's going to be about the theatrics. I think we're going to get a lot of Becky Lynch fighting with herself more than she's fighting with Lita on Saturday, which is going to open it up for Lita to hit maybe a little bit more offense. Becky's going to get a lot of her heat in there, and she's going to tell a story, and eventually she's going to have to put her down because she loves her championship more than she loves her hero. That's the story I'm expecting to play out, but I think it's going to end up elongating the match a little bit. I think this thing's going to go right around 9 or 10 minutes, so I'm going to go with over on this one.
I don't know. Becky Lynch, she's good in the ring. I think she's one of the better female performers. She doesn't have a wide variety of her matches, great matches that are. She's the one carrying the match. Let's be honest here. I'm just going to say it. Her and Liv Morgan, they put together a pretty good series together and had some good matches. And even some would argue like a great match on Monday Night Raw when they went against each other, or even some people that said the day one match was better. But I've seen her against like the Lacey Evans of the world. I've seen her with people that are not that experienced or are rusty in the ring, and it hasn't been good. So I wouldn't bet on this going like 10 minutes. If I'm WWE, I think that it is an option of like 7 to 8 minutes, and you're probably better off with 7.
I agree with you. I agree with you that I think less is more here, and right around 7 would be the sweet spot. I just think they're going to do, there's going to be a lot of selling. I think, Becky's going to throw in her the step. She's going to, hit her on the table. There's going to be a lot of heat in this match, and there's going to be a lot of a lot of Becky fighting with herself. The fact that she hates that she's doing this to Lita, that I think is going to end up carrying that match over the 7.5 mark. Maybe it doesn't get to 10, but I think it's going to be over 7.
You're probably right, because it's an 8-match card now, and Goldberg and Roman ain't going past 5 minutes. So
nope.
They kind of have to have this match probably go that length.
One championship that will not be on the line in Saudi Arabia because, hang on, spoiler alert, by the way. If you do not want to know what happens this Friday on SmackDown, stop listening to the show right now. We appreciate you tuning into all 52 minutes of this 30-minute podcast to this point. But if you do not want to know what happens on Friday night SmackDown, stop listening and watching right now. You have
don't go to WWE's website. Don't go.
Yeah, they spoiled it themselves. So chances are you probably know. So just let's go ahead and go with this. So Sami Zayn's going to win the Intercontinental Championship on this Friday. He is going to defeat Shinsuke Nakamura, which if I had more time, I would scream and shout to the heavens about how dirty they have done Shinsuke Nakamura with both of his Intercontinental Championship reigns. Allow me to just read you a stat real quick. This comes from Graham Matthews, my boy over at Bleacher Report. Between 2 title reigns as Intercontinental Champion, Shinsuke Nakamura has held the belt 384 days, and he has had 4 televised title defenses, which means number 5 will be this Friday, where he will drop the belt. If I have to tell you how ridiculous that is, you're part of the problem. Anywho,
it's not ridiculous. He's just using New Japan rules. In New Japan, you have to separate the title defense. You don't have to defend it every 30 days in New Japan. So that's how Shinsuke said it. Shinsuke was like, I'm only going to defend my title like New Japan Pro Wrestling every couple of months on your big shows. Not big shows that are on like Peacock or the WWE Network. I mean, your big SmackDown shows.
Yeah, it's not going to be on a premium live event. It hasn't in an entire calendar year at this point.
When you need some ratings on a SmackDown that's taped, put me on there. I'll main event.
Intercontinental title is not going to be defended on a premium live event from WrestleMania to WrestleMania. Congratulations, WWE. A title that used to mean something went wire to wire. It's now the 24/7 championship at this point.
Hey, to be fair, this is also a title that wasn't defended at WrestleMania for like 5 or 6 years. So
there is that as well. they get really hot and cold. It's all depends on who they put the title on, that they say, all right, yeah, we'll actually do something with it, because if they have long-term plans for you, you're going to have an Intercontinental Championship reign. But anywho, so Sami Zayn now is going to be a 3-time Intercontinental Champion. Looks like we're going to have a title match. Who's it going to be? Who's he going to defend that championship against? Is Shinsuke Nakamura going to get his rematch? Could it be Madcap Moss? Could it be Happy Corbin? Could it be Drew McIntyre? Could it be Sheamus? That would be a great little story to tell. You could turn Sammy babyface, right? You could have Sheamus going after the Grand Slam. Move somebody over from Monday Night Raw, because you could give Big E a shot, you could give Kofi a shot, you could give Woods a shot, right? There's some names out there that would easily fit into an Intercontinental title match. I will literally name the entire roster before I get to the guy who is rumored to get the Intercontinental Championship match.
And he's a better option.
Dave Meltzer, Wrestling Observer, says Johnny Knoxville is getting an Intercontinental Championship match at WrestleMania.
Yo, I said this to y'all. If you were a longtime fan of SP3, I was on True Hill Heat. I was on Wrestling Daily. I was over on Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel. And I told y'all all the best move WWE did before WrestleMania last year was calling Bad Bunny, because Bad Bunny drew new eyes, casual viewers, new viewers, lapsed fans, because they wanted to see this world-renowned rapper in the wrestling ring, and he surprised the world. So they need another celebrity hook. Bad Bunny is doing his concert. He's on tour. He's busy, so they can't get the draw. They can't get an A-lister like Bad Bunny. They gotta go to a B-lister. Well, they can't really get B-listers, so they gotta go to C-listers. And they got one who just had a brain hemorrhage because he was filming Jackass Forever. They got Johnny Knoxville. I'm not saying this is the wisest decision. I'm saying this is a decision to get lapsed fans. It's for the same reasoning that they got Bad Bunny last year. It's to get fans that don't usually watch. This is not for anyone that listens to Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast. This is not for Rick. This is not for me. This is for those fans of MTV and Jackass from 20 years ago who will watch WrestleMania this year to see Johnny Knoxville get an opportunity at the Intercontinental Championship. And overall, this is for the betterment of the Intercontinental Championship.
Is it?
Johnny Knoxville challenging for it means that the Intercontinental Championship will get on the main card of WrestleMania. And I think that's the only way to guarantee this title gets on this card.
I don't even know what to say at this point. Like, I have expressed my displeasure with the booking of the Intercontinental Championship ad nauseum across multiple platforms for the better part of 2-3 years at this point, to the point where I almost buy a lot of your arguments, but I'm sitting here and I'm going, why does Sammy and Johnny Knoxville need the Intercontinental Championship? The answer is it doesn't. It doesn't. You could have done this match without the title.
The Intercontinental Championship needs Sami Zayn and Johnny Knoxville. That's my point.
That is exactly the point. That is how shittily, if that is an actual word, that they have booked this damn championship over the better part of the last 3 years, is that you're going to revive it with an aging movie star who has brain damage. He's not going to this match isn't going to be good. It's not going to be nearly as, I'm not saying that Johnny Knoxville isn't going to commit and isn't going to put in the work. He damn well might, but it ain't going to be no Bad Bunny at WrestleMania again. You're asking for lightning to strike twice, and you're going to bet that on Johnny Knoxville? And I was all for Johnny Knoxville being in the Royal Rumble for most of the reasons that you just mentioned. Elongating this to WrestleMania to have a one-on-one match for the Intercontinental Championship? That's the best we can do, WWE. That's the best you got. I'm to the point where I'm like, retire this damn thing. And I'm never to the point with championships. And I'm almost getting there with the women's tag team titles too, because all we've seen Carmella and Zelina do in the last 3 weeks is lose matches and attend a toga party.
I mean,
they both look great, but that's all they did.
I've been done with that. I don't even know what we still talking about that. I didn't even know it still existed. But ladies and gentlemen, Johnny Knoxville, he's got brain damage, but so does Fesco from Euphoria. And he's raised his little brother Ash. He's run his grandmother's business, and he's the best character on Euphoria. So if he could do all of that with brain damage, Johnny Knoxville can potentially win the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania 38. Book it, Dano.
One final thought here before we wrap up. Again, this half-hour podcast that I said we needed to try to go short because I have to be in work in 4 hours.
Hey, I never go that long. I keep my thoughts in abbreviated 3-minute or less soliloquies. I try my best.
Yesterday was Valentine's Day, day of love, or day to spend with somebody that, you know, has become a really good friend to you, which is the case that we got on Monday Night Raw with Reggie, Dana Brooke. Reggie trying his best to fight out of the friend zone. Yeah. Didn't happen. Protected. How many weeks now has he been protecting Dana Brooke? It seems like endlessly. Endlessly. I feel like Dana Brooke won that thing. I'm not sure, and I'm not going to take time to look it up. Feels like she won it back in November, maybe even before that. I could be way off. I don't know. But Reggie has been barking up this tree for a long-ass time. Last night, he finally realized it wasn't going to happen. Dana had to let him down softly. She said, look, thank you for protecting me, saving my championship again. I appreciate it, but I just don't feel the same way that you do. And he's like, I respectfully understand. And then my man Reggie just went all Denzel, said, well, I'm leaving here with something. Rolled her up, stole the 24/7 championship, and walked out the door, which SP3, what does that mean? Because I think you summarized it the best.
What? He walked away with something. He had to walk away with something. He had to get Son out this deal. Like, come on. Reggie couldn't go out. Friend zoning is a crime that deserves punishment. If you friend zone, you will wind up with the check. You will wind up with your title taken, ladies and gentlemen. And Reggie proved that. I am proud of Reggie because you called it protecting. This man has been sipping on live television for the last couple of weeks. So I'm glad he got out of the sip zone.
Good for Reggie. Poor Dana Brooke. This is probably the worst that she's looked since the Money in the Bank, when she literally like took the briefcase down in the office and then never made it up to the roof.
Yeah.
Hey, she was a champion though. She was a champ, man. She held on to that for a long.
Second longest reigning 24/7 champion of all time.
Behind Reggie.
Yeah.
Who, what is he, a 2 or 3 or 4? Here's the thing. Who cares? We've gone really, really long, and that's the most we're ever going to talk about the 24/7 championship. Hope you guys had a good Valentine's Day. Hope you guys had a good Super Bowl Sunday, or better than I did anyway. Again, check out my conversation with Santos Escobar here down on the exclusive interviews tab. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Check out my pinned tweet at Rick Ucchino. Get yourself registered for a possibly $100 gift card to shop AEW. We appreciate you guys. We will be back tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. to break down NXT Vengeance Day. I have faith, SP3. This is going to be a good show. Looks like a stack card. We didn't even get into the fact that Tommaso Ciampa was on Raw last night. We'll have to save that for another show. This has been the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast, brought to you by BetOnline.